grass. Just step in the grass. You stay like above it.
Got it. Car's still there. Good.
Tomorrow for sure.
Crossing into Ohio. So I have all kinds of lights that I want to put on the Slingshot, but I'm kind of hesitant because basically, like, a lot of them are going to be stuck to like parts that I've painted, which means, you know, when I do peel it off, the light's got to come with it. So I'm like, I don't want to do all that wiring and then, you know, I got to peel these off because I kind of want to redo the paint. And, you know, because it is so easy, you know, I might change it once every year, you know, every other year or something like that. And all you got to do is literally just peel it off, which is really cool. That'll be a really satisfying video when I do that. But because of, you know, this being my first time and it's rough, you know, I'm going to do it sooner than later this time. But I also ended up, if you guys remember me talking about making that like middle speaker pod, they call it the waterfall pod. I ended up buying one because there was a guy on the Slingshot group. He literally like cloned, I guess for the lack of a better term, cloned the original like you know, $400 one or whatever that the Slingshot websites sell. So I bought that off of them for dirt cheap. It was like literally a little over $100 with shipping, and it just, I need to really step up. I really need to practice a lot more with fiberglass. I'm really not good at it. The cardboard isn't a good base. Like, it's so thin, and it doesn't really add any kind of like strength when I do put the resin and stuff on there like that. So I'm gonna figure it out one day, and I would like to, you know, still try to make it just for fun, and then, you know, obviously I can sell it for a decent amount of money. But so I've got that. I also painted that the same purple color to match. But anyways, before the trip, my big thing that I want to get done is install my other amp and get that waterfall pod installed, because that's 4 more speakers. I've got 2 more facing the front that match, you know, all the other speakers I have, and then I have 2, like, they're called, like, I don't know if it's like a titanium tweeter, like a super tweeter or something, but I got one of those in each side, and that pod alone is going to add a ton of volume, and those tweeters add a level of clarity that, you know, I've never heard before, so I'm super excited to get that done. So for the trip, it's showing rain, like a few random thunderstorms, so I bought a little, like, it's like a car cover, but it's, you know, specific for the Slingshot, and it just covers like the inside, which is really cool. So it's really small, like, you know, like the size of, you know, like a t-shirt rolled up or something like that. So if it does rain, you know, I can pop that on real quick. I bought a cooled seat cover. It's got like a fan in it, and it just plugs into your cigarette lighter and sits on your seat. So I bought that because there's going to be like a lot of stop and go, because there's going to be like, I mean, I don't know how many there's going to be, but they said last year there was like over 300 Slingshots or something like that, which is insane. And they're like, you know, it's a lot of, you know, parking lot sitting, you know, it's a lot of idling and stuff, which is, you know, generates a lot of heat. So it's going to be hot in there. So I bought that cooled seat cover, and I bought a fan. Well, it's like 2 fans, probably about as big as my hand, and I can just like set those on the dash or whatever and plug them in, so I got some airflow even if we're not moving. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the trip. But yeah, like I said, I got a new back tire too. I will show you guys a clip of that. I've got it in the trunk with me, so right after work I'm gonna stop at a tire place, have them swap out the tire for me. I didn't realize how bald this stock one was, and I'm sure I could have made this trip with it, but the thing is though, if we got caught in any kind of rain or anything like that, any kind of wet roads, that tire was gonna be all over the road. Like, there is just so little tread left. It's, you know, right down to the wear markers. So I ordered a new one. Everyone's like, oh, go to this place, I only paid $200, blah, 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 blah. No, screw that. For one tire, I paid about $70 on Amazon, and, you know, free 2-day shipping, and it's really close to the original tire, but better, because the original tires were junk on these things. And I will see you guys here in a second, which will be me getting off work and going to change that tire, and I'll tell you guys about the trip. Alright guys, I'm back home, obviously. Today is not my day. It's one of those days. It's 5 o'clock on the dot right now. I wish I could literally just go upstairs and go to bed, or be as lazy as these guys. Hi, Bailey. Hey, Tasha. Coco, where'd you go? God, I need to run the vacuum. So, I'll show you a couple of the goodies I got before I get into everything. On our trip, I keep saying our trip because I've never gone anywhere without Shelby before. On my trip, this is terrible lighting. I leave Friday, like I go to work, and then as soon as I get out of work, like I literally get in the Slingshot, head straight there. Like I'm not even coming back home. So I'll be there. I'll be on the road for like 4 hours on Friday, and then the event is all day Saturday. So I'll pretty much be in the Slingshot all day, and then Sunday we wake up and drive home, whatever. But the forecast is going back and forth. It goes back and forth from being completely sunny and super hot to terrible thunderstorms all day. So I'm like, like if I'm close to home and it starts thunderstorming, I can fly home, get it in the garage, and I'm good. It's waterproof. Like the Slingshot itself is completely waterproof. Like the way you buy them, with like I bought the one without the radio and stuff. But if you buy the one that's got the radio and all that good stuff, all that stuff is literally completely waterproof. You can go through a drive-through car wash. You can leave the thing sitting outside in a rainstorm. Nothing's going to get hurt. I went aftermarket on a lot of my stuff, and I didn't want to pay extra for like marine stuff. Not necessarily because it costs extra, but because it costs extra and you're getting less product for more money. But the way I've had the Slingshot set up, like if I get caught in some rain, it's not gonna hurt anything. If it was to sit outside and it rained at work or something, everything's gonna be okay. When I go to the car wash, everything gets wet, everything's okay. However, having it parked outside in like torrential rain and like long downpours, I'm not okay with that. I'm sure that could eventually cause some trouble with things I've done. And the Polaris covers for those things are ridiculous. They're like $400 for a car cover, but it's specially shaped to fit the Slingshot. Like, why is that $400? So got on Amazon, I found this. It was like $70, and hopefully you guys can see, but this protects all my expensive stuff. So this is like $60-$70 on Amazon. Hopefully I don't have to use it, but if I do, I got it, and it's tiny. Like, I take it out of the box, and it's in a package that's like this big, So that brings me to my next thing. The Slingshot gets really hot if you're in it and you're not moving. Like, when we're in Detroit and we're doing a lot of stop and go, it gets really warm because you got an exhaust right there. You've got the whole transmission, the engine, all that, and you're separated by a thin piece of plastic. So if you're not moving with a lot of airflow, it sucks. Like, it up here you're good, but like, waist down, it's just radiating heat. So I bought the one that's got 2 fans, and it's just like I could put like some Velcro on here or something. It comes with like adhesive, but these fans move in like all directions, and then it just plugs in. Yeah, it just plugs into the like 12-volt outlet, and then each one of them has a switch, like high, medium, and low. So this, I can throw this, right on the dash, have airflow when we're parked. This was dirt cheap. I think it was like $20. So then my favorite one, I've been wanting to order one of these, but I've hesitated because I'm like, those probably just don't work that good. Or, like, truthfully, the cheaper ones I found are like $45-$50, and I'm like, I'm cheap, I don't want to spend something like that, even though this would drastically help and that cover was even more expensive. But so this is like a seat cover, and you see it's real thick. It's kind of like plush, but it's got all these holes in it, and all this, it's like ventilated or whatever, right? So you just throw this on your seat, you plug it in, and it comes with a plug too that you can use in your house. You can use this on like a computer chair too, but it is heated and ventilated. A lot of people mistake a ventilated seat for a cooled seat. A cooled seat has an actual method of cooling air, and literally a cooling effect, like cold air, like cold. Ventilated, which is what most air conditioned or cooled seats are, is just where there's a fan that just blows air. Like, it just sucks in air from somewhere and just blows it, which makes a tremendous difference. This, of course, is just ventilated because it was like $32 on Amazon. I couldn't pass it up. But on these hot days, like
on Saturday, you know, when I'm sitting in this thing for hours, and where I would normally, no lie, have like a wet back and a wet butt from just sweating and being so hot, this will prevent that. So I set it on my kitchen table, like on the chairs, and I turned it on, and you could immediately feel like the airflow because I was warm from just getting out of the car. So definitely easily worth the $30. But now I'm heading back out, and let me tell you why today sucked. And it's not gonna sound bad, because when I say it, I'm gonna be like, that doesn't even sound that bad, but it's just been one of those days for me. So let's talk about it. Let me go on a good venting spree. Yesterday, Shelby's vlog already had it posted. We went to the quarry, and then after we dropped them off, you know, driving all the way down to Ohio and back and stuff, getting dinner, it was probably like 10:30 or 11 o'clock before it was probably about 10 o'clock when I went to bed, probably close to 11 before I fell asleep. So of course today started off super tired. But I slept amazing. I just woke up just dead tired, so I'm just like, oh man. Get to work, and we're short-handed, like a bunch of the normal people aren't there, so they're moving people around, and they put this guy doing a job. I won't go into details about what it is, but it's not hard, and depending on when he's there, he'll go 90 miles an hour. But they put this guy there that's just going slow as hell, watching a movie on his phone. So could have got done at work. Like, that was annoying all day at work. You know, that just like kept me just agitated. We would have had a lot of downtime today, just, you know, relaxing and chilling, if he would have moved his ass, but he wanted to go slow and just pout. So then I had the Slingshot tire and the wheel in the trunk of my car, and I'm like, all right, when I get off work, I'm gonna stop, you know, wherever I find it cheapest and have them switch that so I can put that back on and, you know, have my new tire on. I haven't really dealt with tires in years, like, aside from just buying a whole set of, you know, 4 tires and taking my car there and have them put it on. You know, like, I haven't ordered tires and have them put them on, and, you know, I don't remember the last time, but I'm like, you know, dude, it's one tire. I've got the wheel off, so, you know, I've done all the labor. I just don't have the machine to swap the tire. So I call Bell Tire, and they're like, oh yeah, about $30, and you know, we're pretty busy today, so we might not be able to get it done today. I'm like, $30? So I called another place, $30. Called another place, and it was like 28 or something like that. And then I called Firestone, and he's like, oh yeah, $20. I'm like, all right, cool. None of these people said like, oh, it varies, you know, like if you have a bigger tire or a low profile tire or something like that. None of that. I just said, you know, how much? $20. Or, you know, if you have a low profile tire, you know, this much. Like, something I would say as a tire person, because I would be thinking of that, whereas the person with the tire might not know that there would be a difference, you know? So I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm driving home from work. Traffic was horrendous. Almost got sideswiped by a semi because, you know, we're just driving. He just decides he's going to start, you know, kind of veering off the road and stuff like that. You know, switches lanes rapidly with no blinker, all kinds of stupid stuff. So I get here. The parking lot is so awkward. Like, I had to park in the entrance, but a lot of people do that. It wasn't like, you know, I was parking like a dick or anything like that. I parked like in the entrance next to this big truck, but there was plenty of room. Like, we could open our doors all the way if we wanted. I didn't park close or anything. But this lady goes to get in that truck, and I thought she was leaving, so I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna sit here for a minute, because if she leaves, I'll back up and park in her spot so I don't look like, you know, a dick that's parked literally in the middle of one of the entrances when there's room elsewhere. But she opens the door to her truck, and she's just standing there with the door open. I'm like, really? And I'm just like, damn, really? Like, I'm sitting here like trying to get out of my car, but if her door's open, she's standing there like, I really can't open my door, and it would be awkward. So she continues to stand there for literally like 2 or 3 minutes, and at this point I'm like, whatever, I'm just playing on my phone at this point, you know, checking Facebook and stuff. So she gets in and she starts it right away. I'm like, all right, cool, finally. So I'm ready to shift my car into gear and move. And she continues just to sit there though, and she kind of like started to move but then stopped. So I'm like, all right, screw it. Turned my car off, got out, brought the tire in. He's like, how can I help you? I was like, I just called about, having this tire. And he's like, okay, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And he's looking at it, and he's like, how's he say it? He's like, I don't know what he did, but then he goes, all right, it's gonna be about $38. And I'm like, what do you mean it's gonna be about $38? I'm like, I just got off the phone, you said 20. Well, this is a low profile tire. And I'm like, why wouldn't you have said that there's a difference when I called? Well, yeah, they probably didn't know. So I was pissed off, but I'm gonna go pick it up now. Just my luck. They put it on backwards. Okay, so let's continue that story. So, yeah, anyways, he's like, did you still want to do it? I'm like, yeah, I'm here, it's taken out of my car, I've already walked it all the way up in here, whatever, just do it. I'm not gonna, take it somewhere else to try to save $8, whatever. Shitty, but, live and learn, I guess. If you don't buy one of their severely overpriced tires, then they severely overcharge you to swap it out. Even though it literally, and I can confirm, because it just happened, takes like 8 minutes to do, tops. He's like, oh yeah, I gotta pay the guy, and it's a lot, it's more work, and blah blah blah. Yeah, okay. Anyways, so he's like, which wheel is this? He's like, front, back, left, right. I was like, it's the back one. He's like, which side, left or right? I was like, it's in the middle, it's the Slingshot. And not realizing, obviously, it's a directional tire, which means it has to rotate in one direction to function correctly. Otherwise, you're gonna hydroplane like crazy in the rain, because it's gonna push the water into the tire versus pushing it out of it. And I was like, I pointed to the wheel, the outside of the wheel faces this way. I explained it to him. I'm not going to get into detail here. I was like, so the tire needs to be rolling this way. So he puts a little arrow on it, but he just did the tiniest little mark, so I didn't really see what it was. But he's like, all right, you're going to wait here, or do you want us to just... He's asked if I was going to wait here. I'm like, how long is it going to take? He's like, he looked back, he's like, maybe hour and a half. I'm like, I'll just run home. It's, not super far, but I didn't want to sit in there for an hour plus. So I'm like, got a ton of stuff to do with Slingshot, and I'm just like, no, I don't even feel like it. But sat down on the couch, pretty much took a nap, and I woke up, and I look at my phone, I'm like, it's been 2 hours now. I dropped it off around 2:40, and it was coming up on it was after 5 now that I think of it. So I call him, like, hey, I dropped my wheel and tire off. I was just wondering if it was done. He's like, is it the Slingshot one? I was like, yeah. He's like, oh yeah, it's done. Like, okay, again, with my luck, when these places say that they're gonna call you, they never do. And I gotta call them. I've got 50 million stories I could tell you about that. But I'm like, okay, well, I'm on my way. I'm coming to pick it up now. So I get there, and I had asked him, I'm like, I was just, BSing with the guy. It was a different guy. I was like, yeah, they, hoping he would maybe hook me up or something. I'm like, yeah, I called and they told me it was going to be $20, and then I get here and he told me it's going to be, 38, pretty salty about that. And he's like, yeah, sometimes they get the wrong information. I'm like, really? Dick. Whatever. So I paid. And then, I was asking him, I was like, I had pointed, I was like, now it rolls this way. I was like, is that, and it's easier to see, if you were in person. I was like, it rolls like this. I was like, is that, is the tire on the right way? He's like, yep, because you want the, it does this or whatever. I'm like, all right, cool. So I wheel it out to my car, wheel it out to my car. But I throw it up in the trunk, and then I wanted to look and make sure they didn't, gouge the wheel up or anything like that. So I'm looking, I'm like, all right, cool. They did a good job. The wheel was really clean. I didn't see any marks or, anything like that on it. So I'm like, sweet. And then I see an arrow, which I never noticed. I didn't really look at the sidewall too much. But I see this arrow on the tire, and it says direction. And it's pointing like this way or whatever. Which that means that's the way the tire has to roll. That's, you know, how you mount it on the wheel or whatever. And I look, I'm like, they got it mounted backwards. I was so salty. I'm like, oh my God. So I wheel it back in there, and the guy was walking out to like help somebody else. He's like, what's up? I was like, this, it's got a little arrow that shows, you know, which way to go. And I was like, the wheel goes the other way. He's like, oh, all right. So he rolls it in back, and it doesn't say anything. It doesn't say like, hang on a second, or, you know, have a seat. He just rolls it in the back, and then I see him walking out the other side to continue to help those people. I'm like, damn, you know, he could have been like, you know, he's going to fix it, you know, just have a seat. It'll be, you know, X amount of time or whatever. But this dude had the tire back in like, I'm going to say maybe 8 or 9 minutes. I'm like, I waited over 2 hours and you had this thing done in 9 minutes. Like, granted, I know there's probably people in front of me or whatever, but I'm like, damn, 8 or 9 minutes. It couldn't have been that hard to mount that tire that required a literal twice the price amount of money. Like, come on. So, and then the guy walked back in. I was like, hey, you know, do they rebalance this stuff? He's like, oh yeah, you got to do all that. I'm like, all right, cool. Because I'm like, if I put this damn tire on and it's out of balance now because they swapped the tire over and didn't rebalance it or something like that, like, I'm really going to be pissed. And then I'm going to get some compensation. But back home now, so I'm going to go ahead and throw it on and then try to get some of that stuff done. I want to get that waterfall pod mounted with the speakers in it. That's my biggest thing. And I've wasted so much time today not doing that. Because I thought that tire was going to be done way sooner. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to get out there and get all sweaty and dirty and then have to leave. But joke's on me.